Welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of Investing San Diego.
I'm honored.
I'm here with my buddy Samuel T. Foote, or Samuel T. as Siri likes to call him. And Sam's here to talk about the process of finding a property in San Diego, updating it, and then transforming it into Airbnb and what that experience has been like. Sam, what's up?
What's up, Asad? Thanks for bringing me here.
For sure,
this
man.
It's going to be fun, yeah. It's a good question. People are interested in the Airbnb space, I think.
Yeah, so can you start off with your process, finding the neighborhood, what kind of parameters you guys were looking for with the property, and what the initial goal was, and if it changed at all through the process?
There's quite a bit to unpack there. But let me start in the beginning. Like this actually started with some money that was going to be pooled together through an investor and my mom. There was going to be a 1031 exchange of her office, right? So that it started with my mom. She was going to retire and wanted to sell her office. So we were going to have that investment money because, it can be a business. With a 1031 exchange, it needs to be an income-producing property, which can be a business, right? Even though it wasn't, a rental, another short-term rental, it was a business, right? So we were able to utilize that money. Another investor that came in with us was going to be selling some land that they inherited from, the late grandmother, unfortunately, their mother, and who was about 100 years old, from what I heard. So may she rest in peace. And so there was a pool of money that was going to be available, half of which was just going to be pocketed, and the other half was going to be a 1031 exchange. So that's what started this process.
Okay.
And I was Of course, my mom was like, "Hey, where should we put this money?" Talking to the family, they know I'm a realtor out here, and so real estate was an obvious choice of where to move this 1031 exchange money into. And so that's what started it. That's what started the idea, right? And then the process for finding the property, I gotta say, it was a lot of work. It wasn't easy. It was coming to the office every day, doing some cold calling leads.
So did you guys, before that, did you start off with a specific budget or area that you were targeting? Yeah. Was the goal always to do Airbnb? Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, good question. The goal was always Airbnb. With San Diego being where it as expensive it is, the cap rates that it has, you generally can get a premium for an Airbnb property. You spend the extra coin to furnish it, and you get around a 20% premium over the long-term rents. Is kind of
this is after
general.
Expenses.
This is after expenses. Yes. Okay. So for what we were looking for, we did start with a general budget, an idea of where the investors felt comfortable utilizing just the money that was going to be pooled from these sales. That adjusted later on, right? The investors were willing to come up with a little extra. Once the cookie crumbled, that's what we ended up getting, something that would cost more.
And was this cash or financed?
Financed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just San Diego being as expensive it is, definitely only partly a large down payment and definitely financing. And then for where we were looking, that we were interested in a beach property, even though what I know about San Diego is that the beaches do tend to be seasonal. So for the vacation rental space, the winter months hurt a little more. You might have to come out of pocket a little bit more in those winter months to prop up the property over the life of the loan. Not the life of the loan, but the year's loan burden, right? Debt coverage is what I meant to say. We'll break even, if not make a little bit of money. But right now, going into the winter months, it definitely tends to be seasonal. We definitely considered downtown Mission Valley, even parts of Oceanside because of Pendleton and all the marine stuff that goes on up there. They tend to draw a bit of more of a year-round business, especially downtown and in Mission Valley. Anywhere with a trolley, you get more of that the convention crowd, more business travel, right? So that crossed our minds. But we also have I also have a midterm rental in Mission Valley, so we know that does really well year round for midterm, like business people come to visit their kids for a month or more. But this one we wanted to go, short-term rental, beach all the way.
That's awesome. And then, so the process of finding this, you started talking about that a little bit earlier, and ultimately you were looking online, on market essentially, but then also you started to cold call to find options.
That's right. There was definitely some cold calling that was going into it. The way we actually ended up finding the property, it was off market, but it was another realtor's referral that said, "Hey, I exchanged text messages with this potential seller. I need somebody to call him for me." So I had a buyer with money in their pocket, burning a hole in their pocket, and I gave him a call. Said, "Hey, I like that property. I like the location. I would like to see it." And it like really just started with that call. And saw the property, submitted an offer before he was even close to putting it on the market.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you guys lock up the property. In doing that and coming up with a price, did you have to consider the cost of renovation or furnishing? How did you guys come up with a price to offer on that property?
There was a couple things. My investors felt comfortable with $1 million investment. So basically, I advised them that whatever we're getting at this price point with the properties we've been looking at, let's plan for some renovation budget and furnishing budget, of course. So they're ready for $1 million investment. So basically, I suggested to them, like, hey, let's put $800,000 down, so we have about $200K for renovation and furnishings.
That's awesome. So, in going through this process, if you're unfamiliar, as speaking as an agent as well that works with investors, it's not always about taking all of your capital and putting it into the down payment. It's about coming up with a strategy to how best utilizing your cash.
That's right.
Awesome.
I agree.
So you guys close on the property, yay, celebrations, and then the real work begins?
Oh, yeah. The real work began. The owners had to first figure out what to do with the current tenants. Did they jack their rents? They knew they were looking at the Airbnb strategy, but this place was fully rented when we bought it, right? So the day after they closed, I helped them post notice of termination of tenancy, right?
Okay.
And
Can you talk some more about that, being not only in San Diego, but part of owning property in California and buying a property to have tenants in place, what that process looks like?
Yes, definitely. And let me also say, like, I'm not a lawyer, right? So this is verging in the realm of legal advice. But I say I helped them post the notice because basically anybody can post the notice. Your realtor can go tape it on the door, right? Yeah. But how to navigate this is definitely you want to connect with one of our attorneys that can help with this, real estate lawyers. But essentially what we posted was termination of tenancy, and they had a lease in place that some of them was almost nearing a year more, right? A year left on their lease. Now, if they could have squatted, from my understanding of the law.
Worst case scenario,
they could have just said no.
Yeah.
And then we have to utilize one of the, I hate to call them loopholes, but basically you have to have a reason.
A
mechanism. You have to have a reason that you're going to basically terminate their tenancy. It has to be for just cause, right? There is no fault. There's a no fault eviction and there's just cause eviction, right? And the just cause is you're going to have a family member move in. You're going to do a substantial renovation. There's a couple more, but again, this is legal advice you can talk to a real estate attorney about. But basically, we had, the investors had family members moving in, so that was an easy one, and they were planning on renovating. So we showed that. We showed the tenants that you have to show permits, you have to show proof that you're going to have to be out of the property for up to 30 days, for a minimum of 30 days. And San Diego has a few more little tweaks to that, where you have to offer it back to them at the same rent if you're going to put it back on the market within, I think, 5 years. But so long story short,
Long story short,
termination tenancy, and we offered them cash for keys. To avoid any of these issues, we offered them cash for keys.
Exactly. So you kind of consulted. You also, being a professional in San Diego, kind of came up with a number for cash for keys, which is just offering a buyout essentially to your tenants to facilitate, lubricate, if we will, the move-out process so that you can move forward with starting the renovations, right?
That's right. That's right. We offered 2 months rent. That's what we offered to people, and most of them accepted. There, again, in San Diego are a couple tweaks to that. If they're disabled or I believe 65 or older, it has to be 3 months rent. So we offered it to them, and they all accepted. They were all interested. It took a long time. We didn't start renovation until, I would say, 9 months in.
So from the time you guys close on the property until the renovation could begin, i.e. the last tenant moved. Well, actually, no. Did you start renovating before?
Yeah, good point. Out? We did. So we started with 3 of them, yes, and then the last person had already agreed to cash for keys, but there was this move out date. We'd already started demolition. They had already started demolition, and then she left.
Awesome.
They left.
Well, that's definitely a positive and a smooth story so far. So, with regards to the renovation, what was that process like? How did you guys come up with a budget? How did you come up with furnishing it? What went into that?
So with the budget for the construction, we got quotes. We got quotes from contractors. We met with a few contractors and had them give us an idea of what they would cost and what they could do with our budget. And we got a great bid. We got some great bids that were around $50,000 a unit to basically gut renovation, do the whole thing, add laundry, kind of open up the kitchen. Didn't fully make it open concept. There's still a post at the end of the peninsula, but did new floors, all that, and about $50,000 a unit. And so that's what the investors had prepared for, and that's what they did.
So were you guys able to do the renovations, stay on time, stay on budget?
No. Of course not.
That never happened, right?
No. It went over budget. It went over time, right? But
was it within the margin that you'd prepared for? So I only ask this because a lot of times with investors, especially with newer investors, doing renovations can be like a huge hurdle to get over because of the fear of the unknown or horror stories that they may have heard from before. What I typically try to do is just educate folks on worst case scenarios, but then also to consider a contingency, both on time and on reserves for any kind of budget or cost overruns. Was the completion the cost or the time significantly over what you had estimated?
These are very good questions, Asad. These are very good questions, and I gotta say that this was essentially my first project managing a construction and furnishing, getting licenses, getting this up onto Airbnb. This is the largest I had done, the first of this scale.
Okay.
The midterm rental in Mission Valley that we own, that one was a lot easier. It's basically turnkey, just listed on Airbnb monthly. This one was quite a learning experience. That's what I'm getting at. It was such a learning experience. We planned for a 10% overage, 10 to 15% overage. It went closer to 20 to 25%, I would say. Yeah, so that's how, and double the time.
Okay.
Double the time. There's definitely some things I learned about managing a construction crew that I will not do the same this time.
Okay. So advice for yourself or someone else who's doing projects similar to this in which you're going to do substantial renovations onto either a long-term rental property or something that you're looking to do short-term on?
Well, what's my advice for somebody that's going to take on one of these projects?
Or anything you do differently yourself?
Yeah, I mean, a piece of advice that I would give out to the public is always get 3 bids, at least 3 bids. Don't necessarily go with the cheapest one. Don't necessarily go with the highest one. I would probably go with the middle of the road one again if I did this again. And the second piece of advice in managing a construction crew is you've got to be on them, man. Like they're good at what they do. Sometimes they're just wrench jockeys, and they're good at that. And they found themselves managing crews and QuickBooks and all these different things. And if I did it again, I would not be just sending them draws and trusting the contractor. I would have asked for itemized lists with what they purchased with that draw and receipts. I would have kept a close look over where the finances were going.
So be a little bit more dialed in.
Yeah.
Would you recommend maybe bringing on a partner or contracting with someone else to help you oversee that project?
100%. Yes, 100%. Me, since I'm in the business of real estate, it's something that I want to get better at, and it's something that I want to do. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed talking to the crew and finding out, getting the timelines, and I enjoyed the whole process. There were stresses, but I was never disappointed in those stresses. I enjoyed it. But somebody that, it's maybe an engineer or some other business, right, that they don't have time to really devote to that, definitely I would say hire somebody and vet that contractor's foreman. Like if that contractor has a foreman or a project manager, meet that person. Make sure you know who you're going to be dealing with on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis.
And you just recommend having someone who's very detail-oriented is what it sounds like.
Yeah, someone that's detail-oriented, that's going to be fully transparent with where your draws are going, where the timelines, and being honest with the timelines, Don't just tell us what we want to hear.
Yeah. Because that impacts your financing, impacts your, out-of-pocket expenses.
Absolutely.
When you can bring folks in. How do you go about the design aspect of it in regards to the furnishing?
I got to credit my wife a lot for this, right? Fernanda was great. She's got a great eye. She just has a good eye. Also, her mom was a landscape architect for her career. So my wife had definitely grown up with some of this stuff. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's just that woman's intuition. Like they just have an eye for color schemes, and they just get that. But Fernanda and I did all the design. I've walked through 1 million flips, 1 million renovated houses in my years in real estate. So we had a good idea of what current market trends are, what people like out there, and so we also used an app called SketchUp. It's a free service. You can there's a paid version, but we can design to scale the kitchens and the living rooms and add some colors in. So we put a lot of work ourselves into the scope of work. We had color schemes planned for each unit. One was going to be blue with silver handles. One was going to be white with gold handles. One was going to be black with gold handles. That changed.
What was the rationale for that?
So that the Airbnbs didn't all look the exact same on the listings. If you're looking at 3 listings that have the exact same blue kitchen, you're going to get confused. So we made tweaks, especially to the kitchen, because that's like the prominent piece to the living area. And then with furnishings, we were able to get some art actually through the office, but artwork's on great big canvas. It's not crazy expensive, but we definitely saved some money on the artwork. Got some colorful artwork. Just decided on where to put it in the apartments, and we used Jerome's for furniture.
That's just a local big box furniture place?
Yes, correct. Yep, local big box furniture place. We're careful, didn't want to get clashing colors, but when mostly neutral colors, light gray, couches.
Stuff that doesn't stain easily, basically.
Yeah, well, one of them is light gray. I don't know about that one. It's like kind of canvas, but then the other 2, we got a great deal on some leather couches that are like recliners. Might be pleather, right? Fake leather, but easy to wipe off, right? Yeah.
So now let's talk about the actual business of running short-term rental for the first time. What's that experience been like? Has it been? Have you guys hit your numbers? Has it been as dynamic as you expected? A little bit less so. What's the story been?
Yeah, so we launched in like early June. The construction took way longer. We had hoped to launch by like April, but construction took way longer than it was expected. So we launched, but had it all furnished, and by late May, launched in basically June. San Diego, you have to get a license, right? I think a lot of people might know that by now. There's still quite a few licenses available for Tier 3, which is whole home rental for 90 days or more in San Diego. It's $1,000, $1,075.
We talk about that a little bit for those that are unaware. So within San Diego, currently, we're now shooting this in 2024. There are 3 different tiers, of which I think just 2 right now are basically being in use. I believe the Mission Beach are all gone.
Yeah.
So can you talk some more about the other 2?
Yeah, sorry to correct you. There's 4 tiers, right?
4.
There are 4 tiers. Yeah. Tier 1 is Mission. Actually, I think that might be Tier 4, right? So they're the tier that's specifically for Mission Beach. That capped like real quick, right?
Yeah.
Now there's a waiting list, and you can't get any more license for Mission Beach. Then the first 2 are home share. The first one is like for 90 days or less per year where you're home. So that's just like the occasional Airbnb it out if you're going to be gone for the weekend, right? The tier 2 is home share. Like, so you're living on site, you're living in the house and renting out a room for 90 days or more. So you're going to be gone for a more extended period of time. And now, mind you, there's no limit to the amount of licenses they're giving out for tiers 1 and 2, right? So if that's what you want to do, you can still get licenses.
And that's essentially just to surmise owner-occupied properties.
Yes, exactly.
And that's not just limited, though, to single-family or to condos, but it can also be for multifamily. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Now, we didn't get any Tier 1 or Tier 2 licenses. We got Tier 3 licenses. Because the owners are not living on site, they, it's a married couple. So they were each able to get a license.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, the husband gets one for one unit, wife gets another for the other unit. And those are Tier 3 licenses, whole home rentals for 90 days or more a year, full on Airbnb, right? And then for the other one, they got a trusted friend to basically sign a certificate of occupancy, or certificate of authorization, it's called. This is a technique that's known out there if you're in this space, and essentially you just get somebody to sign on to a lease that allows for subleasing for 30 days or less. And with that document that proof that other person is able to get the 3rd license.
Awesome. So you open your doors. We're now in the middle of September. So you've had a full summer for your first year. Can you talk some more about that? How did it go in regards to the projections and what the reality was?
It crushed it. It crushed it this summer.
Awesome.
We more than covered our expenses. We have, there's a large mortgage on the property, and I got to double check the numbers, but they cleared. I know in June, or excuse me, maybe July, we cleared it by $5,000. So we pulled in. They pulled in quite a big debt coverage, quite a nice profit. Now that said, Asad, winter is coming.
Winter is coming, yes. So fall and winter.
Fall and winter. The Labor Day hits, and the summer season of San Diego drops off, and bookings definitely declined. They're still booked, right?
Yeah.
We still have a lot of reservations coming in.
I think September, just almost everywhere, is going to be one of the slowest times of the year, just because it's back to school, it's back to work. People start traveling again. There are more conferences, there are more conventions, more meetings that start ticking back up towards October, going into the holidays, right?
Yeah, that's what we've seen. That's what we've seen. And I got to say, I wish I had better answers for how this winter is going to go. Let's do this again next summer, after next summer, because I'll have the data from this fall. And it's, Another thing that just came to my mind is our best rental, the unit that has done the best. We put bunk beds in, and I think it attracted more families. Airbnbs, families, I think, look for Airbnbs. They need somewhere to be able to cook a snack for their kid, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It really attracted, I think, a lot of guests and a lot of families to that unit with a nice bunk bed in it.
Yeah, and we didn't get into this, but are all of the units that you have the same mixture, same room mix?
Correct. Yes, they are. They're all 2-bedroom baths.
Okay, so with that, going into next spring and summer, would you redesign another unit to make it more conducive to families? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it might be worth it, Asad. I really do. We had, even in the units that didn't have a bunk bed, there were still families up there. There were still kids running around, right?
Did you guys charge a bit of a premium for those, or were they all priced about the same?
All priced about the same.
Just higher occupancy in the bunk bed one.
Higher occupancy, correct, yeah.
Cool, man. Awesome. And so tell us some more about who you are as an agent in San Diego. Like, how long have you been here? I know Sam's also from the East Coast. For those that don't know, we grew up in the D.C. area. We just met
DMV
in San Diego a couple of years ago, but we found out that we're both from the same area in the world. How's your experience been in San Diego?
It's been awesome, man. I mean, God, the city is beautiful.
Yeah.
Every time my wife and I go out on our paddle boards, especially at sunset, we're just like, oh my God, I live here. We live here, man.
Yeah.
Like, we've gone on a couple night paddles recently on the
really?
bay. It's like you go for sunset and then sun goes down and it gets dark. Man, paddling back with like La Jolla and PB and Bay Park and Bay Ho all lit up, man. That's the night, and the wind goes down, so the water gets glassy. It's a beautiful city here. It's a beautiful city. Tons to do, lots of outdoor activities. It's a really nice place. I moved here to answer your question, right? Moved here basically 9 years ago. I think October makes it 9 years, and I worked in
When October?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I remember I was here for Halloween that year. Landed in Ocean Beach, where I'm back now, right? I'm in OB.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, just to, like, who am I, right? I worked in hospitality my first couple of years. I managed a hostel here in San Diego. Shout out to ITH Hostels if you're seeing this. And then I worked in a couple of restaurants. I was cooking for a while, and I was studying for the real estate exam as I cooked. And I've been a realtor for a little over 6 years now.
Oh, cool. So tell us more about your business and what do you do like now? What does it look like day to day? And what do your clients look like?
Oh, good question. My clients, I don't want to generalize, but because I can and will work with anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate. But I've worked with a lot of millennial couples. I myself am a millennial. I think that's just who I've connected best with. Millennial couples. And I meet my friends and family are where a lot of my business comes from. I also hold open houses, so that's essentially what I'm doing these days.
Awesome. So would you say if someone has an Airbnb business or wants to get into the Airbnb business, you would be a good person for them to reach out to?
Absolutely. I would love to hear from you. Any questions you have, any doubts, concerns, questions, want to dive deeper, want to see what we've done to make ours a success. We are also holding an event next week. This is going to be the first in our Airbnb Open series that I hope you will also come to, Asad.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll put the details of that in the captions beneath the video. But yeah, it was great sitting down. Well, thank you for joining me. Especially on the first one of these. It's been super, super cool. And we'll definitely come back and do this again to see what the fall and winter were like for you.